Hey you! Welcome back to part 3 of our series on the Federal Reserve. So far, we've uncovered who owns the Fed and how money gets created, but now we're diving into something that affects your life every single day. Interest rates. Who controls them? How do they impact your credit cards, your mortgage, and even inflation? And most importantly, can we trust the people in charge? This isn't just about economics, it's about power, control, and the future of your money.
This is the digital revolution. No retreat, we are the movement. Building empires that forever last. We don't fold, we rise, we blast.
Let's get into it. Who controls interest rates? Interest rates, we hear about them all the time, right? Mortgage rates are up, credit cards are brutal, student loans are crushing. But who actually decides these rates? The answer is the Federal Reserve. More specifically, a group inside the Fed called the FOMC. Meet the FOMC, the rate setters. That's just a fancy name for a small group of people at the Federal Reserve who meet regularly to decide what to do about the economy. Think of them like a team of doctors for the US economy. If the economy is overheating, prices are rising too fast, which is inflation, they raise interest rates, kind of like cooling it down with ice packs. If the economy is sick or weak, like during a recession, they lower interest rates, like giving it medicine to help it recover. Here's how it works. The FOMC meets 8 times a year to look at the economy, jobs, inflation, spending, and they make a decision. Their main tool? The federal funds rate. This is the interest rate that banks charge each other to borrow money overnight. But why should you care? Because that little number is like a domino. When the Fed raises the federal funds rate, borrowing becomes more expensive. Credit card rates go up. Mortgage rates go up. People and businesses spend less. This slows down the economy and helps cool off inflation. When the Fed lowers the rate, borrowing becomes cheaper. People spend more. Businesses invest more. This speeds up the economy and helps it grow. So now you might be wondering, what does the Federal Reserve actually do? Like, day to day, what is their job? Well, the Fed's job is kind of like being the referee of the US economy. They're not trying to pick winners or losers, just trying to keep the whole game running smoothly. Here are the 4 main jobs of the Fed. 1. Keep prices stable. This means fighting inflation or stopping prices from rising too fast. Their target is 2% inflation per year. If it's way above that, like it has been recently, they step in and raise interest rates to cool things down. 2. Maximize employment. They also try to make sure as many people as possible have jobs. If unemployment goes up, the Fed might lower interest rates to help businesses grow and hire more people. 3. Keep the financial system safe. The Fed keeps an eye on big banks to make sure they don't collapse like in 2008. They run stress tests and act as a lender of last resort in a crisis, basically. They step in if things start breaking. 4. Keep money moving. When banks need cash, the Fed makes sure the system doesn't freeze up. They control how much money is flowing through the economy using tools like buying and selling government bonds, adjusting interest rates, setting reserve requirements for banks. So in short, the Fed doesn't just print money or set rates, they manage the entire vibe of the economy. Too hot? They cool it down. Too cold? They warm it up. They keep money moving and the banking system from crashing. So now that you know who owns the Fed, who controls the money supply, and how interest rates get set, you must be wondering, can we really trust the Federal Reserve? After all, they have enormous power over the economy. It controls how much money exists, how expensive borrowing is, and tries to keep the economy balanced. But this power also comes with risks. What if the Fed gets it wrong? When the Fed creates too much money or keeps interest rates too low for too long, inflation can spike. That means your dollars don't buy as much as they used to, your purchasing power goes down. Think of it like this. If your paycheck stays the same, but prices for groceries, rent, and gas keep rising, you end up feeling poorer, even if your salary didn't change. That's the real impact of inflation. And here's the tricky part. The Fed's decisions don't just affect banks and big businesses, they affect your everyday life, like your savings, your loans, and your future. People get nervous when the Fed floods the system with money, especially if it feels like the economy is rigged in favor of Wall Street or big banks. That uncertainty can shake trust. And when trust fades, conspiracies fill the gap. Some people believe the Fed is intentionally inflating the dollar to trap people in debt. Others think it's all part of a larger plan to push digital currencies and eventually eliminate cash, creating a system where every transaction is monitored and controlled. Sound far-fetched? Maybe. But in 2023, central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, were already being tested in multiple countries, including the US. So the line between conspiracy and policy can get blurry real fast. Because of this, more people are waking up. They're searching for alternatives, ways to protect their wealth, and escape a system that feels rigged. That's why you're hearing more about things like Bitcoin, gold, and decentralized money. We will explore these alternatives in another video. So what does this mean for you? Understanding the Federal Reserve isn't just about economics, it's about your financial future. How will inflation affect your savings and lifestyle? Will borrowing become more expensive or easier in the upcoming years? Should you consider alternative ways to store and grow your wealth? These are important questions everyone should think about in today's economy. Hope you aren't too confused. That's the Federal Reserve in a nutshell, a complicated, powerful system that shapes the money you use every day and impacts your financial future. You now understand what the Federal Reserve is, who runs it, who prints money, and how interest rates are set. Knowledge is power, and now that power is yours. If you learned something new, give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and share it with someone who needs to know the truth about the money system.